Happy New Year.
Yay, we're here. Happy launch week, Hady. Congratulations.
Thank you. I receive all the good vibes and the good wishes. It's been a long year, but we're here at the finish line, or
Oh
at
man.
least the first finish line, and
Yeah.
it feels good to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And just everyone, we've been having our own conversations. So we're just inviting you in now because Hady and I were already like going deep into it. So I'm really excited about this conversation. I almost feel like you don't need an introduction, to be quite honest with you. I was like thinking about this. I'm like, how do I introduce like Hady? Like everybody knows Hady, right? Like, you're a speaker, you are ERG coach, programming director of Leading Latinas, like entrepreneur, like there's all these different facets of you, right? But I know that your big mission is just around empowering Latinas and women of color. And I'm excited about this conversation. You now became an author.
I was trying to figure out how to get the background. My copy too.
Yes, I was trying to figure out how to get the background, but yes, your book is now out with beautiful illustration. I love the colors.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the book. So I know there's so many questions I have for you.
Okay.
And I want to start off by asking you, if your book was a mirror, what part of yourself, if your book was a mirror, what part of yourself do you see reflected most clearly? And what do you think might surprise readers?
Okay. I think that I was very authentic. I tried my best to show up authentically in this book. That was so I'll back up for a second. I was part of a idea to launch accelerator program. And one of the first things you do in that program is write an outline. And it's like a document that's what is your book about. It has an outline of all the chapters. It talks about who your primary readers are, what your goals are for the book, the tone you want to have, all the things. And so transparently, some of the things that I wrote, there's like, I really want to be authentic because I really want, I don't want to like talk at people. I want to talk to people. I want it to be like conversational, just like we're having a conversation and I have my show, Latinas Front and Center, and I'm always, in conversation with someone. I like that. And I wanted it to feel that way, that the person, we were having a conversation. I'm like, girl, you don't even know this. And let me tell you, this is what happened. And so, and we were talking about how you have the audiobook, and in the audiobook, that's how I sound because I wrote how I talk. And so the audiobook ended up being really good, easy to do because it sounds just like me. But it was very important for me to come across authentically. And I think that is the part that people are going to see, that it's like, it's the same Hady that you see on the show. It's the same Hady you see if you've ever listened to me on a podcast. It's the same one. Like if people know me personally, that's what I sound like. And that's how I wrote. So I feel like that part of it was very true. And that was very important to me. Now, tell me the second part of your question. What surprised me?
Yeah. What would surprise readers, do you think?
Oh, what would surprise readers? I curse. I don't want to say I curse a lot, but I curse. I don't know if that
would actually.
I don't know if that would surprise readers because like if people know me from a work environment, even though I would say I curse at work too, but I try to like not curse at work. So I feel like maybe people would be like, "Wow, she's got a potty mouth." But maybe I also shared that I have tats. I have 2 tattoos, so.
That surprised me. I did not know that.
I know that surprises a lot of people. I even have a really good friend. She's like, "Are you kidding?" And I'm like, "No, I do." And she was like, "How have I never seen them?" I'm like, "Well, we never been to the beach because that's the only time you would see them. Because one is on my right hand, like waist area, and then the other one is in my lower back. So they're not like in places where people would see them." And I feel like that was a function of I worked in corporate for almost all my life, so I couldn't really have a tat that was visible. Like I couldn't have it on my wrist or hand or somewhere where people might see it. So I always had them in like sort of incognito places. So yeah, some of those things I think might surprise people a little bit. And maybe like I grew up in Brooklyn. I don't know. I'm not sure if like the Brooklyn part is surprising.
We all know we know that. That's surprising.
Yeah. And I think it surprises some people that like my mother didn't have like, she didn't drive, she didn't have like a bank account.
Yeah, that did surprise me too. The credit
Yeah,
card.
like she have a credit card, checking account, like nothing. She was just chilling at home, and that's what people of that generation did. Like, I mean, she's not the only, my aunts were all the same. Like, they barely had like a high school diploma. That's about it. And they all pretty much stayed at home and like took care of the family. That was their oficio, was being a housewife.
Okay, got it. One of the things that I get really curious about, a lot of people talk about writing books. I know it's on my list, and it's not, it's you're inspiring me for sure for the future. But you
Yay!
actually like took this journey over the last year to go through and put this book out there and put it together. And it is really truly a labor of love. I feel like it's like a
Yes.
gift that you're giving all of us Latinas. And I want to know what the because a lot of times I hear authors either talk about the journey being difficult, or sometimes people have really like they're just in flow and it just like comes out of them. I want to know what your experience was like in writing this.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. And I would say that I was more in the latter camp. I think so. I mentioned that document that we put together at the beginning. Like, we didn't start writing our book until 2 months into the program. So for the first 2 months, you're just ideating, like, what are you going to write about? What are you passionate about? What do you want to, like, what do you love talking about? What unique perspective can you bring? And then again, things like, well, what do you want to achieve through this project? Who are you talking to? Who's your primary audience? Who's your secondary audience? What are you gonna include and what are you gonna exclude, and all that? So I would say, like, once that part was done, it was so easy to write the book. And I people are gonna be like, what? Like, not that it's so easy to write a book, but it was so easy, at least for me, to write this book, because the outline, literally, I just followed the outline. The outline was critical. As long as you put the work into the outline and really were very thoughtful, which I was, then I was able to just write. And it came I was very lucky in that it came very easily. And I was, writing. I actually, part of the accelerator program too, you keep track of how many words you're writing in a week. And I could tell that even as the weeks were going by, I was writing more and more words. Like, I was just like getting it out, getting it out, getting it out. So it was really, and that was very encouraging. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really hit a wall. And I think what was really helpful is that as I was writing, and by the way, I would write Monday through Thursday, 9 to 12, I would block out. So 3 hours a day for 4 days a week. So like 12 hours I was writing.
Wow.
More or less a week. And I wrote the book in like maybe, well, I would say 4 months, but not really. I would say it was even maybe less than that. But I think probably started writing in November-ish. And I think I submitted it to the to the editor like in February. So maybe, yeah, something like maybe 4 months. Maybe it was like November, December, January, February. And let me tell you something, Christmas, New Year's, all that, I was writing. I was like, yeah, there's no rest here. Like, I got to keep it going.
Right?
Yeah, because I had a schedule and I really wanted to make September. And usually, books take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to put out. And so it was a little bit aggressive, the schedule that I wanted, because I wanted it to be in time for Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I had to work through the holidays and everything, which was fine by me. Like, once I hit that flow, that is a very important word. Once I hit the flow, I was just going. And so what I would do as I sat down is I would read what I wrote the day before, and that would put me in the right mindset. And then I would just start typing again. And I didn't do a lot of like editing. Like, it was like light editing of what I wrote the day before. And then I would just keep going. And it was really helpful, because I think a lot of people, that is one thing
That's where
that
I get stuck.
they cautioned
I know
us
you're
about
not supposed
that.
to edit.
Yeah,
You
they
edit
cautioned
later.
us
Just put it
about
out
that.
on paper, right?
Yeah. So our coach was very, very, like, she said that about 1,000 times. She's like, do not go back to start editing, like, at least not from the beginning. Like, all I did was like look at the stuff from the day before. And then, so that gave me an opportunity to revisit it and maybe make some changes, like loose, light editing, and then move on to the next thing. And that's how I did it. And then at the end, again, there was it was a moment, and it was like, do you want to like edit this again, reread the whole thing again and edit it again, or do you want to just let the editor go at it? And I chose the latter, and I just gave it to the editor, and I was like, I don't want to read this again, because I have read this thing about 1,000. Little did I know that I would read it 1,000 more times, but I had read it so much by then that I couldn't even look at it anymore. And it was really nice to be able to hand it off to an editor. And I had the most incredible developmental editor that a person could ask for. She's Latina. She was so kind and so sweet. And I was so scared and nervous about like what that like editing process was going to be like. And I thought like, they were just going to be like red marks, delete, and write this all over again. And it wasn't like that at all. She was just so kind. And she was just like, I really love this. How about we like talk about A, B, and C to like really give the reader like some context and like some good, like blow it up a little bit. And, she just really elevated the manuscript so much. So I was really grateful. And hey, Bernice, it's so nice to see Bernice.
Yeah, Bernice on here. Feel free to drop comments also. Use the chat. So, and kind of going with that theme still, I'm also curious about, like, do you feel like you've gone a transfer, as you've been writing through the book, do you feel like you've gone through a transformation, or what maybe like came up for you personally, even though the book flowed? Was there other things that like you started to realize about yourself, or things that you reflected on that all of a sudden was like, oh, you were seeing it in a new light?
That's a great question. And I would say that you're familiar with the book, but for those people who might not be, I have 12 chapters, and every chapter focuses sort of like on a different tip or like lesson. And then there's like stories that I share within each chapter. And then I also start the chapter with the refrán, which is like Spanish saying. So I had to kind of like map. So before I started writing the book, I had a list of stories, the potential stories, and I had a list of potential refranes. And I had to marry the two, which was not an easy feat. This was like a puzzle. And it was like the puzzle, but backwards, because I'm like, okay, I know I want to talk about this thing. Here's like 3 stories that match with that thing. Is there a refrán that also matches? And, so I was like kind of and I'm like, okay, I think this works. Next. And, so I actually had fun with it. And I would say that, I don't know if you asked me this in the other question, but I'll take the opportunity now to share that I really wanted to enjoy the journey. I didn't want to just be like, rah, and, get the book out. And, like, to me, it was like the journey was just as important. And that experience and all the people that I interacted with and that I brought into the project, that was just as important as getting the darn thing out. I have a Substack where I talk all about the experience. And in the beginning, I gave like bi-weekly updates, but then I was like, I ain't got time for all this. And then I started doing weekly updates, and that's kind of where I've been. But, is so not familiar with the author. Hello. We'll answer your question in a second. But yeah, I guess what I want to say is that I would highly recommend, if anyone is going to embark on a writing journey, that you try to be really present, because it is a beautiful process and it gives you the opportunity to be really intentional. And that was important to me. Like, I was like, I want a Latina editor. I want a Latina illustrator. I want most of the endorsements that I get to come from other Latina women. I went with a publisher that's a B Corp. Their mission is to amplify the voices of underrepresented people. Like, so I took time to be thoughtful and intentional about the decisions that I made. And then that made the experience better for me. And I was really like, looking back, I'm like, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the people that I brought together. I'm proud of the work that we did. This is for all of us. Like, all of us should be really proud of it coming together. Like, yes, I guess I'm like the star of the show, but there were so many hands that touched this project, and so many people that helped bring it together, and it wouldn't have come together without all of us. So I feel really happy about that.
And I really want to pause and just emphasize something, Hady, because I feel like sometimes our community can focus so much on like everything has to be hard or everything has to be a struggle. And so hearing you talk about this book writing process, and one of the big things that stands out to me is like how much clarity you had from the outline. It's almost like when people tell me they're struggling with personal branding, but that the reason they struggle is because they don't actually know who they are, what they stand for, and their expertise, right? But once you have that foundation, it just like that makes it so much easier. And that's what I hear.
1,000%.
Like, you like you could have this experience of having that, like, just space and expansion and joy and flow and being really intentional about the people that you're choosing. And I think that's so great to hear you model it in this way, as opposed to like, oh my God, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. And, you know,
I didn't want to like suffer. Even when I was suffering, I was like, no, girl, this is all part of it. Like, embrace it. And I mean, and there was actually no parts that were really, nothing was that hard, but some things were like tiring. Like when there was a point when I had to review the hardcover, the paperback, the audio, and the ebook. So there's 4 different formats. I had to review all of them like within a period of a week. And how you review books, the written word, is by reading it out loud. So I had to read the damn thing out loud 3 different times. The whole damn book 3 different times. I was like, Mira, I don't want to look at this fucking, excuse my French, at this book anymore. Like, I was so done with the book. Thank God for the audio. All I had to do was listen to it so I could like wash dishes, cook. And I was listening and I was like, oh, this is good. I like this. I'm getting motivated by me. Who is this girl?
So really quick, I want to answer this question that came in through the chat. I can't see the name who it is associated with, but it says, you know, why did you decide to write the book? And I'm going to add a little caveat because of the time that we're living in. Why did you decide to write this book now?
Yeah. So I started writing the book because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach. And I know how important a book is to, you know, getting more opportunities, being on bigger stages, getting doors opened. So that was, you know, sort of on the outset, I guess, why I was writing the book. But this book is about, it is like my purpose in the world in a book. So, you know, as that became apparent, then it was like, this book is important because I'm writing it for all my Latina sisters, primas, cousins, friends, amigas, besties. Like, this is for all of us. So I took that very seriously because I'm like, yeah, I started off as like, hey, how can I create more opportunities for my business? But now I'm starting to see like, this is an opportunity to create a legacy and to really put something in the world that a lot of people can benefit from. And so it really shifted like how I approached the project, because then it was like, well, this is so much fun and it could be like all me. And like, you know, one of the things, I don't know how much people on the call know about like hybrid publishing, traditional publishing, self-publishing. I went with a hybrid publisher, and which means that I got a lot of creative control over everything, basically. So I was like, this is what I want to say. I want to have this acknowledgement at the end. I want to put Benito Bad Bunny in my acknowledgement, and hell yeah, that's where he went. And I wanted to have, you know, dedicate the book to my mother, and I wanted to have this illustrator to do the thing. And I got to pick everything. Yeah. Everything that is in that book came from me, and there was no one to tell me, no, that can't go in there. I got that freedom. But with that freedom comes a lot of responsibility, because I was like, oh, well, now everything is coming from me. So like, I can't even blame anybody. Like if I left something out, if I forgot to say something, if I didn't clarify something, if I didn't, you know, explain something really well, like all that is my responsibility now. So I think, you know, that's kind of the turn that the book took once I realized like what it meant to be going through a hybrid publisher and having all of that freedom to make every decision about the book. So that was really fun. But like I said, it was a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it was fun, because then I was like, ooh, now I could get more Latinas involved and get more women of color involved and figure out how to really, you know, get the message that I really want to say. And I could curse and I could do all the things. Like, well, you know,
I mean, I think it's awesome because you just model like full self-expression, ownership, which you talk a lot about, like, you know, no one is coming to save you. You've got to, you know, you've got to create the opportunity. So to me, it's just like you were living in full alignment of what you were. It's like that.
I think that's the transformation that I was like, I am now the living representation of all of this. So I better be living it.
That's so good. You guys, it's the embodiment, right? It's like, when we say that integrity, the way that I was taught integrity through my coach training program was, it's your highest and greatest intention, plus your speaking, plus your doing. And
Yes,
to
the
me, it's like
action.
you had all of that, right? Is all three of those were in alignment. So it was
Yes.
like you were living your embodied truth. And I
Yes.
think that is so powerful. It actually gave me a perfect setup because I wanted to talk about purpose. And you mentioned, that you found your purpose through this process. And you talk a lot about purpose and passion, and about like mission and even doing missionary work. How do you define purpose? Because I think that's a very common question is like, how do I find my purpose, or what's my purpose? How did you discover yours, and what tips would you give to others about finding theirs?
I think it's something that comes easy, so it's not met with resistance. Like it's like the book we were talking about. It's just flows, right? That's first and foremost. I think also it is something that you would do for free. Like literally, like you're just like, I just love doing this. Like I would do it for free. Like as an example, I love talking to people in general, but I like, talking to other Latinas and spotlighting them. And I do my show, Latinas Front and Center, on LinkedIn for free. And I haven't gotten, I don't make any money doing that. I just enjoy it. Like it fills my cup. And I think that's the third thing. It's life giving, like it fills
Mhm.
you up, it lights you up. Like you're just like, I could do this all day, every day, and nobody has to pay me a dime to do it. I'm part of, I'm the program director for Lean in Latinas. Nobody pays me to do that either. Like, I just enjoy doing that. I love coming up with new ways to serve our members and to, you know, um, continue to build and amplify Latina voices and to make sure that, our community feels seen and heard and celebrated. And so these are things that I discovered over time. I'm a little older than maybe people in the audience, but like over time, I was like, I really like doing that. Like that's so much fun. And fun is a big one. I'm like, that's a core value for me. If I'm not having fun, I am not doing the thing that I was meant to do. This shit is not supposed to be that hard. So it's supposed to be fun. And I knew that like there was a job that I had that was a DEI job, and I was miserable. And I talk about the job in the book because it was the time that I was getting the migraines and I was like so
Yeah.
sick all the time because I just was like, what I wanted to do and what was filling my heart was not the thing that the company that hired me wanted me to do. They were like, well, just do this thing, check the boxes, let's go, chop chop. And I was like, this ain't it. Like this is not filling my cup. This is not lighting me up, and it is not giving me life. It was sucking life out of me.
Yeah.
And the thing that you're meant to do should not suck life out of you.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more on that. I know my kids asked me something about my youngest son doesn't remember me working in corporate, right? Because all of his memories started afterwards. And he asked me something about like, well, why did you leave? And I can't remember what I explained. He's like, um, he said something like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be doing something every day that makes you like unhappy. And he's like 12, right? And he was
Right, but
like he
that's
I
it right
didn't give him
there.
those words. Yeah, like he even knew that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty profound statement for a 12-year-old, right? Like you recognize like, oh yeah, you
Yes.
shouldn't be doing things that like, and I realized that about myself. I'm, we just had Alona Pamplona come into one of my cohorts talk about human design, and I'm a manifesting generator. Do you know what your human design is?
I think I learned it because Odali's Jasmine talked about this on her podcast, but I don't remember. What are my
Okay. So,
options?
so mine is, so there's like manifesting generator, reflector, projector.
I don't remember.
Okay. So, but like the way that I'm actually designed by nature is if it doesn't light me up, like I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
truth is that I think a lot of people, listen, there's reasons why we can't leave our job. That,
Yeah.
we all got to pay bills, we all got to eat. Like some of us have children or family members we take care of. No shade. Sometimes you just have to stay in that job, but you don't have to stay in that job forever. And so you got to be strategic. Like you might be like, okay, until I can get another job, I'm gonna be in this one, and but I'm gonna have some good boundaries set up, so I'm not getting wrapped up in everybody's, toxicity, and so I can protect my peace. And so there's ways that you can guard and protect yourself, and like be like, whoa, like slow your roll. I'm Like, as an example, I'm gonna leave at 4:59. At 4:59, I'm turning my computer off and see you tomorrow or see you Monday. Like, if you don't love your job and if your job isn't treating you good and your manager isn't treating you good and the company is like not really caring about you, I don't think you're really under any obligation to go above and beyond. So you could really protect yourself and then use the time that you get back to maybe, right, you redo your resume or like meet with the coach or start looking for jobs or maybe go on job interviews, like whatever the thing is. So I think a lot of us make the mistake that think it's okay if you have to stay in place for a year, maybe 18 months. Lord knows I've had to do it for, sometimes even longer. But don't punish yourself. Don't that you don't have to put yourself sort of in a place where you're so unhappy for a long term. If just try to find ways to get out of it.
Yeah,
So
you have options.
Even if it's like join a ERG, join a club outside of work, do something to balance it out. Like I always did ERGs with my job because like the jobs were like, I never did a job where I got to do like what I'm doing right now. So not that much, not enough anyway. So I was like, okay, that job is okay. Like it's not sucking anything out of me, but it's also not lighting me up. It's kind of like in the middle. It was like neutral.
Yeah.
So the ERG work was always the thing that filled me up. But like try to find balance and then develop your exit plan and let's go, like move on. Like I tell a whole story in the book about how I spent 2 years looking for a job because I really wanted to make more money and I wanted better health insurance. And I needed to do that. And I didn't get it. And mira que I tried working where like a place that I had worked before that like the same job opened up and I went and applied for it. And I was like, huh? And I actually got the interview and they're like, yeah, you're not really what the kind of, you're not what we're looking for. And I was like, I just did that job like 3 years ago and you're okay, whatever. So it's not going to be perfect. And I think that my stories are definitely not perfect stories. There's so much heartache in those stories. Yeah. But what I do, I think, demonstrate is that you can't give up and you can't lose sight of your goals and you have to have a plan and you have to ask for help with your plan to make your plan a reality. And you have to believe in yourself and you have to be positive and steadfast and focus and just, put on the blinders and don't listen to people and just do what it is you need to do and get to where you want to get to. It's not going to happen overnight every time, but hopefully.
And I think that's something that you've also really modeled really well over the last few years, because I've known you for a couple of years now and know when you transitioned into building your business. And then like, I've never seen someone use a circumstance. Honestly, I don't think I've seen anyone use a circumstance in such a valuable way that now it's like you've built your business, you use the time to be an author. You weren't waiting for someone to pick you, so to speak, right? Like for a job. You were like, all right, I'm going to create my own opportunities.
Yes.
And I think that speaks the volumes of who you are and the character that you bring. But it's also like, if they're not going to give you the seat at the table, build your own damn table, people, right?
Yes.
Like, don't wait around for it.
Yes.
I want to ask you too, because I think spiritual people on some level, and you talk a lot about in your book about doing going and doing different missions, right? So you went to Haiti, which I have also been to Haiti. And then you were doing a ministry for 2 years in Bolivia with incarcerated women. And I'm very curious about like how that spirituality has informed not even just your leadership, but your identity. And also really curious if that shifted at all where you are in your journey now with it.
Yeah. So I'll start off by just saying that was such a transformative experience. I'm so glad that I decided to go on mission. I left my corporate position after 20 years and I went with a mission organization to Cochabamba, Bolivia. By the way, I'm Puerto Rican. I know somebody asked for it. Like, what's my family background? I'm Puerto Rican, Boricua, born and raised in New York City. And I lived in South America for 2 years in Cochabamba, Bolivia. And that experience, everything about being in a foreign place, like literally a foreign place, to, meeting people that have very different lived experiences from you, to meeting people in the worst possible moment of their life and like them trusting you, and not only trusting you, but like desperate for you to help them or be there for them in some way. And also like honoring any boundary that I needed, because I couldn't get sucked up in drama either, you know. So it was like, how that was, all of that was learning for me. But I'm, you know, it was my faith that brought me there. I talk about it in the book. I took a class called Just Faith at the church where I belong to. It was a Catholic church in Orlando, Florida. And I actually in Winter Park, Florida, but right near Orlando. And I learned all about like the intersection of my faith, which is the Catholic faith and social justice. And it's like, how do we live our faith? You know, how do you love, as they say, el prójimo? How do you show love to other people? Like, you know, seeing God and like goodness in other people, and regardless, like including people that are in jail, because, you know, that was my reality when I went to Bolivia. Was I was in jail, and, you know, quote unquote, these are bad people, but they weren't bad people. They were beautiful people. They were lovely people. I talk about it. They were my friends. Those people gave like, they cared about me. They would I mentioned in the book how they would be like, but tú te ves enfermita today, tú te enfermita, like you don't look good, you look a little sick today, like you need to go home, you don't look good. Or they were like, you look sad, like what's the matter? And it was like, maybe it was the holidays and I was missing my family. They're like, you look sad, you know, and just like different things. And but we have very happy moments too. Like I start off that chapter on community because we were like celebrating somebody's birthday, and I was getting the birthday cake, and somebody was doing something else, and we were all doing something for the birthday party, and we were friends just like anybody else was friends. You know, like they became my friends. These were my people, and they were beautiful people. And I think my faith is what allowed me to see them, you know, beyond the crime that I didn't even know the crimes that most of them committed, to be honest with you. I never asked, and it never came up. So I don't know what they committed. I only found out every once in a while because somebody would be like, esa mató a su esposo. And I was like, she did. Okay. Okay, let me ground myself. Okay, she killed her husband. Let me just settle down for a second.
It's funny. I was looking at my desk because I actually did a life skills course in it wasn't a prison though, it was in a jail, but folks that had been in there long term, and it was the same thing. It was like, I never asked questions.
Yeah.
It was just like, you just got to know people without that. And then occasionally that would come up where you would find something out and you were like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
you know,
but the best thing you could do is show up and be present, and like not bring any judgment with you, because they already have sufficient judgment. Everybody's judging them. Obviously society has judged them. That's why they're there. So like, that was not my job. My job was to accompany them. I had what was called a ministry of presence, and I was there to just accompany them in whatever they were doing. And they happened to be in prison. And so I would just go and hang out with them. And I really have fun. I'm not gonna lie. I have fun with them. I talk about in the book about one time I got kicked out of prison because we were having too much fun and we were laughing, and the guard was like, you need to leave. Like, no, this is not what this is for. But that experience was definitely transformational in so many ways. But I think, you know, religion for me, there is religion, you know, like in my case, it was the Catholic Church. I'm a cradle Catholic, so that's how I was raised. But I think more than that, I'm a believer in God and the power of God. And, you know, I refer to God a lot in the book as universe, like the universe, what the universe has for you. But like, for me, that's God. But I understand that for people, it could be, you know, other things. So I wanted to make it accessible for everybody. But, you know, I know God has a plan for me. And I know that it's my job to trust that there's a plan, and that to stay ready for the plan, for the good things that are coming. And there's a beautiful refrain that says, lo que es pa ti, nadie te lo quita. And that refrain is tied to my belief system, which is like, no one's going to take it away from me. If it's meant for me, it's coming. It's coming, and I just have to stay ready for it. And part of that staying ready is, you know, doing things. You know, it might be like getting new skills. It might be developing, you know, relationships. It might be taking a class, getting a certification. And it's also the mindset, which is just like, you know, letting go of those of negative things that happen, setbacks, you know, not letting setbacks really keep you down, and just kind of processing them, letting them go, and just being optimistic and say, okay, I'm ready for what's coming. And it's hard work to be that way. You know, I don't think that's easy. And I know that a lot of people are on the journey to get there, and sometimes we get there and then we kind of revert back because we have a really hard thing that happens. Like life is not linear, our journeys are not linear. Things can, we can feel like we got it, and then it's like then we don't got it no more because something really big happened, and then like
the highs and lows.
all bets are off. Yeah. So I acknowledge all of that in the book because I don't want people to think that I think like I know everything and like I'm just letting you know how it is. I'm very clear that I'm still on my journey. And but these are some of the things that I've experienced and what I learned from those experiences. And I want to share it with people. So I hope other people can benefit from it.
Yeah, one of the questions that kind of came through my mind too about Bolivia, and because I know you did talk about being friends with them and laughing so hard, and your Tia Lucy, I think it was,
yes,
even came out and brought food, and you guys cooked. But so it sounds, and I know this is, or I believe this is a really core value to you, in my experience of you, is community. And so I'm curious about how, building community in a with incarcerated women, how does that what did you learn, I guess, from building community with them that then you 2 years later as you leave there, how did you integrate that into the way that you approach community today?
Yeah, that's really important. I rattle off a bunch of like really important aspects of community. I'm not gonna like rattle them all off here. Read the book, buy the book, get the audiobook.
Buy the book. You get it on Bookshop.
But I will talk about a couple of the points because I think they're really important. One of them is definitely shared vulnerability, and like I think it's related to what I'm talking about right now, where I'm acknowledging and recognizing that my life isn't perfect either. Maybe I didn't commit a crime that landed me in jail, but like, it's not like I'm perfect either. So like, I'm not in any place to judge you. And I hope that you don't feel judged by me. And in return, I hope that you don't judge me either. Like, I'm not perfect. I remember, this is a true story. They used to call me hermana because some of them thought I was a nun because that's who mostly came to visit them were like religious people. So they thought I was a nun, which is like laughable, but that's aparte. But they thought, so they would be like, hermana, but like you're perfect. You're so good. You live this perfect. I was like, so then I said, I have to like tell them something that's going to shock them and like give me some street cred. And I ended up telling them, I'm like, well, I don't know if y'all know this, but I was like, I was married twice and I was divorced twice. So like that to me, those were moments in my life that I felt like were somewhat like failures for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, man, I misjudged situations. I didn't make good choices. I had to learn from my mistakes. This wasn't good. So I feel like, and that really made me credible to them. Like, they're like, okay, yeah, you're not perfect either. You like twice divorced. Cause that's like, that in some communities getting divorced is like, oh, esa está divorciada, don't get too close. So, so I feel like that gave me a little bit of street cred with them. And I think that was important. So I feel like, shared vulnerability is important. So I never like acted like I knew more than them. And in fact, because like my Spanish is a little bit different than their Spanish, and it's not my first language. So sometimes when we would pray together, I was like, I don't know the word that I'm trying to say, like my words weren't perfect. And they would always laugh at me because they're like, girl, your prayers are like not, whatever. They're less than I guess they're jank prayers, I guess.
I was going to say it's more like a children's prayer.
Yeah, it is like a children's prayer. Papa Dios,
earnest.
But because I didn't have words, I didn't have like sophisticated words. But then I found one of them was a really good. She said beautiful prayers. So then I would always be like, passing it off to Alejandra, do your thing. Because Alejandra's prayer was like off the chain. So I was like, let her do the prayer. I just started us off. I was like, Papa Dios, we're here. Okay, Alejandra, you take it away. And then she would like pray this prayer that was like beautiful and like poetic and was just like made us all feel like good inside. And we were like, all right, now we're ready for the world. So that shared vulnerability, we have fun together for sure. And I think we trusted each other. And I mentioned that the simple act of me showing up every week was how I built trust with them. Like, I was like, I'm gonna come back. And they're like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you're gonna come back? Are you really gonna come back? I'm like, I promise you, I'm gonna be back next week. And then I ended up just starting a support group for them. So I was always there, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring people. So I would bring like other missioners that would come, and there were people that were taking like some of them were interns with companies there. Some of them were like just there to like in language school trying to learn Spanish. But I would bring people that played the guitar. I would bring people that sang. I would bring like random people, and like they loved it. They ate it up. They were just like, this is great. We, like, and I'll never forget this. And I talk about this in the book because they told me something that I will never forget. They're like, we love when you come because you make us forget we're in prison. And that was the biggest compliment they could have given me. And I will never forget that they told me that, because I was like, oh shit, now I have a really big responsibility. I'm supposed to like distract these women every time I come here. I'm supposed to give them like an amazing time.
It's really not even just the distraction. It's just that you treated them like human beings, right?
Yes. Yes. I saw their humanity.
Yes, you saw their humanity. I love that.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about like self-care. You have a whole chapter dedicated to self-care in the book too, and talk about, how you see some of your practices, treating your body as a temple, the way that you eat, like movement, different things like that.
I know everybody knows my business now.
Yeah, we're gonna get out there, right? You talk about the goddess boot camp. I was like, oh, I gotta ask about that later. Silent retreats, and I was like, I was telling Hady right beforehand. I was like, Hady, let's plan a trip to the Camino in Spain next year, and organize something.
And I told you I've been there before, but I cheated and took a bus, so it doesn't count. So this time I'm gonna walk with you.
Yeah, so this time we can walk together. So if you're in for that, let us know. Let us know. But one of the, I know a lot of Latinas end up feeling like they feel guilty for making themselves a priority. Right? Or they're very good at taking care of everyone else, but then they're like burned out and depleted. Yeah. And what would you say to Latinas who, are having a hard time really developing a self-care practice?
I think, so I will acknowledge, and I do acknowledge it in the book too, that as a single person with no children and no partner, it's probably easier for me to, I have a lot more time. I can make decisions about how I eat and when I want to go for a walk and when I'm going to treat myself to a massage or, go to a retreat, whatever. Like I have a lot of freedom to make decisions for myself that maybe people with children and or partners, you're not going to have that same exact option. But I would say with, whatever opportunities and freedoms you do have, like we always have some space for this kind of thing. And it can be as little as like scheduling a morning walk or an afternoon walk. I try to walk after every meal because it helps with my digestion, but also it just helps, for me to move my body and get the blood flowing. I talk about in the book that I'm an anxious person. So I do like keep that in mind when I plan self-care things. Like walking is a very good exercise for me because I kind of am like stomping out the anxiety that I feel.
Yeah, the energy, the emotion.
Yeah, it's just like, I gotta get it out. So that's very important. So I can't carry that with me. I also think about something like yoga. Like I've never been able to get into yoga. I'm not I can't get into my, I don't know. That's a harder thing for me to do. So I just, comes easily. So we already talked about how alignment is important, and it's important in all aspects of your life. So stop trying to do the thing that doesn't come easy or that doesn't make you feel good. Like I always felt like shit after I did yoga because I'm like, I'm not flexible. I can't do like more than half of these poses. And like at the end, I end up feeling bad about myself. So then why the hell would I try to do yoga? Like stop trying to do yoga, Hady. It ain't for you. So I love the walking. I think, maybe going to bed on time or going to bed, like having a ritual or a schedule, a nice routine in the evening that kind of eases your way into bedtime. So maybe having tea. I talk about how I stop eating at a certain point because I need my food to digest because I have like a issue with that. But it does help me because then, I'm not eating anymore. Maybe I'll have a little bit of tea in the evening, but then I'm much more ready for bed because my body, my food's fully digested. I go to sleep and literally lay on the bed when I am sleepy. And that's something that I learned over time. When you get old, you learn to do that. Like stop trying to go to bed when you're not sleepy. Because, I used to watch TV and do like a million. It's like, no, so stop doing all these things. Like I read and I read a little bit just to like kind of ease my way into bedtime. But yeah, it's just like there's always little things that you could do. So I think you have to pick your spots. If you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time or who is responsible for a lot of other people, you're like trying to put your kids to bed and you're trying to get lunch ready for the next day, and I don't know, you have cooking to do and other things like that. You're gonna have to pick your spots. But I would say, even like, as I think about cooking, I love listening to podcasts. They're like very
Mhm.
good for me. I like learning, and it's like keeps me curious, and it's really great when I meet new people. And so I listen to podcasts even when I'm cooking, when I'm walking, when I'm like doing sweeping and mopping around the house and anything like that. So there are some times that you can kind of multitask. So maybe those are some opportunities as well. And then maybe plan a girls trip or a guy's trip, or whatever trip you want to plan, friends trip, that, if you can get away with your friends or family or anything that kind of fills you. I like solo trips myself. That has over
That's
time.
something that I think is really commendable. I'm kind
Yeah.
of like you. I enjoy my own company, to be honest, right? Uh, but I find that a lot of people don't. So it's something that
I love it.
no.
It has built a lot of confidence in me. I cannot tell you that I'm like, I went all the way to Dubai and I was walking in the streets and getting stuff done. And I remember, like, when I went to Italy, I was like so scared because I'm like, oh my God, I don't speak the language. But I was like, I'm gonna talk Spanish to these people and hopefully they're gonna understand me. I'm gonna talk Spanish with an Italian accent. I was like, que cosa? But it was like, that's still Spanish. But like,
Yeah, I love
when
it.
you go to a place where they speak a different language and it's like a different vibe, and you're like, I survived, and like, I did that. I think it really gives you a lot of confidence, and then you could take more risks. I went to Bali. I went to Bali by myself to a retreat, and I loved it. I had such a good experience. I remember the first day I was there, I took a picture that it's like a little swing water thing that it's like an Instagrammable spot. And there was a guy there, and he's like, I'm gonna take the picture so you could put it on Instagram. And I was like, okay, good, like perfect. Like so like there's people out there that'll help a sister out, so that he helped me get my picture so I could like post it on Insta. And I really appreciate it. I'm like, boy, that people think of everything. They already know that us Americans, that's what we're there to do sometimes. So
But
he was ready.
I also think that like people can read energy too, and like the smile is universal, right? You smile and you light people up, and that just, I think, is automatically like people gravitate towards you because of that. So I really like this one chapter. I don't know. Let's see here. I think I might have even tagged it here. It was in the Mujer Take Up Space chapter, and you talk about not shrinking or dimming your light. And I think this is a huge one, because I hear this a lot, right? Even in my work, and the work we do is really similar. And you talk about not shrinking to make others feel comfortable. And I'm curious from you, and I love how you even, because I was even listening to it in the audio, and you talk about like calling BS on that, right? Like not dimming your light for others. How do you think that dimming our light, our individual light, how do you think that impacts all of us?
Well, if I can back up for a moment and just say that why it's so problematic. When we shrink or dim our light, and it is usually for the comfort of others, we're making a value statement, and we're saying it's more important for other people to feel comfortable than for us to be our truest self. And I feel like that is such a disservice that we do ourselves. And for somehow, some way, we've been taught to believe that it's more important that other people are comfortable and that we're likable, and that we're not going to cause friction, and there's not going to be tension, and all those things matter more than me just showing up and, saying what I got to say, or, disagreeing with someone if that's what I need to do. And I feel like that's the part that is problematic. If I think, I think that's the most problematic part. And that's the part that we need to unlearn. And we need to say, no, at a minimum, how I feel is just as important as how other people feel. So at a minimum, maybe it's, arguably maybe it's more important, but at a minimum it's just as important. So even though it's going to make you feel uncomfortable, I still have to have courage to say that thing. If and again, I'm gonna encourage people to pick their battles. You can't just be like every day, all day, every day, just being like, no, I want to say this and I
That's
disagree
awesome.
with that. Like that, you start losing credibility when you do that. So, you're going to pick your battles and you're going to say, this is an important moment for me to speak out. And why it's so important is because look at what's happening in our world right now. Look at what's happening in our country. And, a lot of us are still, still remain silent or still kind of decide that we're going to remain neutral, which right now neutral is actually, picking a side, because if you're not speaking out against the things that are happening, then you're actually, I guess, saying that it's okay to some degree by remaining silent. And so I think that's where it causes the most harm, is where there's an opportunity to disrupt. There's an opportunity to offer something different. There's an opportunity to say, I don't know if we're looking at it. I don't know if you're looking at it the way in its fullest way. And I love, if we can come back and shine the light on you, Ruby. You wrote this really, really powerful post that went viral. And it was all about how, people need to be treating Latinx employees right now, like what you could do if you work with if you have Latino employees on your team, or if they're your colleagues, friends, whatever the case might be. Here's how you could be showing up for us right now. Like, and I think that's something that probably was hard for you to say. Maybe it was hard for people to read, hard for people to hear. People would prefer not to talk about it. It's unpleasant. We're taught as a culture, it's like, this is very unpleasant to talk about. Maybe let's not talk about it. And it's like, but you gotta say it, because people loved what you said. A lot of people like felt seen by what you said and said, yes, this is what we need to be talking more about. And so sometimes it just takes a brave person to be the first one to say it. And I'm challenging my readers and the people here to be that first person to say the thing that nobody else, maybe that a lot of people are thinking, but not a lot of people are saying. They're not saying it out loud because it's scary. It's scary. And sometimes you do get penalized for saying the thing. In your case, mostly people agreed with you. I don't know if you got any comments where people disagreed with you.
I got a few comments, but even, like even in your book, you talk about, people have called you a disruptor, right? Or truth teller, but I love the way that you almost frame that, like, yeah, good.
Thank you.
I'm glad. Yeah. Right?
That's like a compliment. Thank you.
You're not gonna please everyone, right? And I'm over those days. Like, I just say I'm too old for that crap. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and the truth is you're not, right? And so, and you even mentioned when, I think in, because you talk about, like, in that Dimming the Light chapter, I think you talk about like getting an award, but not getting a knowledge, but then really thinking about, focus on the people who want you to win.
Yeah,
and so I
celebrate
think
you.
that's more important, is like, I'm more focused on the people that I can impact versus the people who have whatever to say about it. Like,
1,000%.
I don't let it, like, why, if we don't agree, why am I going to let that bother me? I'm just kind of like, let me brush that off. Like,
yeah,
I'm more busy over here doing this and hopefully creating positive impact.
Yeah. And you and I are lucky because we're entrepreneurs and we don't work for a company that has rules and regulations and policies about what we can and can't say. And, we don't want anybody to get fired. That's not what we're saying here at all. But, sometimes you have to be brave and you have to go contra la corriente, that's how movements are made. That's how changes happen in society and in history. Like, not by everybody saying, like, it's not through yes people that things change. It's people disagreeing and getting other people to see that, like, maybe there is a different way to look at this. Maybe we're not considering everybody involved. Maybe, we've overlooked somebody, or maybe we've overlooked a group of people. Like, we know that is the case. And so I just feel like it is a call to be brave. Pick your battles. I would say pick your battles. Understand, like, the rules and policies where you work. But if you are in the position like Ruby and I to be like you're an independent person, and we can say more. We can speak on your behalf. We can say the things that you want to say and you're thinking, but you can't say, or you might get in trouble if you do. So there's more, maybe we have more responsibility in that regard, that we got to say those things because we're in the position to do so. And we're not going to get penalized in the same way. So I just feel like you have to know where, I guess you have to be very familiar with your context, and then know where the opportunities are for you to be brave and to be bold and to try to be that person that disrupts how other people are thinking, if it's a way that just really isn't inclusive and fair.
Yeah, I like the way that you phrased it in the book. You used the word co-conspirator, and I was like, yeah, Hady's my co-conspirator. All right.
I feel like that. We're like the witch's brew.
So I have two questions, because I know we're right at time, but one is you have in that don't shrink your or dim your light chapter and take up your space. You write this, and I actually highlighted this. It won't always be easy to be the person you're becoming. I thought that was a really profound statement. So I want to learn, I want to know from you, what has, like, what does this mean for you, or where was it difficult for you to be the person that you're becoming, or that you're now in your journey?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of judgment, or there can be people, sometimes unsolicited advice, opinions that you never asked for. It's like, tú no te vas a casar, tú no vas a tener niño. Ay, Dios mío, tú vas a estar sola en el mundo. It's like, whatever, I'm fine. I'm good. I feel perfectly happy. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not for you, but and there's a saying in Spanish, cada persona es un mundo. Every person is its own world. And if that's what makes me happy, and I'm satisfied, and I'm, living my best life as a single woman with no children, and, living and traveling by myself, then leave me alone. That's me. And I'm not going to judge you. Don't judge me. But I do feel like, there are people that will judge. And there are people that I guess, maybe might be a little bit jealous sometimes too. It's like, oh, I see. Yeah, you could do that because you don't have kids. And it's like, don't hate. Calm down. Like, calm down. Like, I get it. I don't have kids. It's true. But like, maybe there's a way that you can also achieve the things you want in spite of the fact that you decided to be a mother or have children. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
I want good things for you too. And there's so many people like that live amazing lives. Ruby, you're a mother and you live an amazing life, and you're a very independent person, and you're doing beautiful things, and you're making choices that make you happy. So it's like, it's not impossible. But like, I feel like some people, they get judgy that way. And it's like, sometimes, that I'll listen. If somebody says something like that to me, I'm like, is that a fair thing that I should consider?
Well, I'm going to tell them, read the damn book, buy the damn book, because she says no one's going to come save you. You got to do it yourself, right?
But I feel like, anyway, that's I think, there's haters, there's people who are, might be a little bit jealous, and are gonna maybe pass some judgment. And at the end of the day, you gotta do what makes you happy. That's what I tell that's my biggest advice to everybody. Do what makes you happy. Do what fills you up. Do what you when you wake up in the morning, you want to feel like your best self, and like give your best self to the things that matter. So it's gonna over time, I think it's gonna matter less and less what other people think. We have a saying in Spanish, ¿Qué dirán la gente? Fuck lo que dirán la gente. I don't really care lo que dirán la gente. A mí no me interesa. Like, that's not my business. That's their business.
I think that's your merch. Okay, fast forward, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years. What do you hope a future reader will understand through your book?
Oh my gosh. I hope that this is an inflection point for us as Latinas and as a community. I know we're very much under attack right now. People are trying to silence us and make us feel like we need to go hide and be fearful, and stay in our homes and not come out of the house, or leave the country, or go back where you came from, whatever, the things that people are saying right now. And I hope that this is, even as that's happening, that it's an inflection point for us to have more pride, more orgullo, be more brave, be more bold, I just passed a car today, a truck, and it said Viva Mexico, and it had a Mexican flag, and it said MAGA, make Mexicans, I don't know, it's something, MAGA, MAGA stood for something, make Mexicans great again. I forget how it was worded, but and then it had a little sticker and it said, don't worry, gringo, I'm legal or I'm documented, something like that. So it was just like, just so you know, but it was like, this car has so much orgullo, and it's in my neighborhood and it's parked there every day. So somebody put all that stuff in their truck and parks it in the same place every day. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we should all be doing. Like, raise our flags, wave our flags. Like, listen, I'm Boricua, Bad Bunny all the way. Bad Bunny is changing the world. He is international. He is, people are noticing him and noticing Puerto Rico because of him. And, we need people like that. We need more leaders. We need more Cardi B's in the world, more like that. Listen, we're not a shy bunch. Carol G, that's her name, right?
Carol G.
Carol G, Shakira, like, there's a lot of us, Eva Longoria, like there's a lot of us out there that are not in the shadows. We're very much out of the shadows. We're front and center. And I want to encourage more of us. And I hope that, in the future, when people look back, they're like, this was the moment they tried to silence us. But like, how that saying goes, they didn't know that we were seeds and we were going to come up and rise. And like,
and
that's opportunity.
I don't want to totally go off here, but I will say, to think about how to phrase this. Listen, we do need more courageous leaders. We need people speaking out. My best friend of over 20 years is an Illinois senator. She's gone viral online because she literally single-handedly chased masked individuals.
Oh, I saw that video.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I know her.
AOC.
I've known her for over 25 years. And you know what? It was during school. It was during the morning when kids were going to school. She comes from a social worker background in the school system. She was born in the same community that she serves. And when I say that I knew that it was her heart, it was Mama Bear coming out to protect.
Exactly. She was like, oh, hell no.
I mean, when I saw that video, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that she's like chasing. And that happened to be some random person. That was not planned, right? That took that video. Yeah. And she single-handedly got those folks to get in their car and leave, right? And I think that's the type of courageous leadership that we need. I've never been so proud of her. And I absolutely was like, heartbroken and destroyed because I also saw how fearful she was too. Like I could really see that knowing her as long as I've known her. And all that to say, like, we all have a platform and we can all do something, right? So whether that's calling your elected officials, whether that's, writing your book and telling your stories and empowering folks, whether, there's just so many different ways, whether you're giving financially to something, with the causes that you support, how you're speaking up. There are lots of ways to do it, but don't hide, don't diminish your light. There's never been a better time for this book to come out. Calladita No More, no more. Like, this is not the time.
This is not the time.
Be quiet. So
heck no.
I think this is, the perfect place to end. Any last like thoughts or words from you, or anything that you really want to share that's on your heart today, Hady?
Oh, I just want to thank the community for showing up. I've gotten so many beautiful messages and emails, and Lucy's on the line. Lucy posted a picture with her book. She was part of my street team. And anyway, I just appreciate all the early readers and the people who just took time to support the project, because it was a project and it was, for the community, and it was built by the community. You were an early endorser. So Ruby, thank you for your support and for taking time today to talk to me. I just appreciate that so many people have gotten behind the project. And I really do hope that we can work together to continue to get the book in the hands of the people who really need to read it. So maybe more college kids, high school kids, people in their early careers, and anybody else who who really could stand to like hear this message and get a little bit inspired and motivated to use their voice.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone pick up your book. Again, you can get it on Amazon, Bookshop. Where else? Is Barnes carrying
Barnes and Noble. Yeah, Barnes and Nobles, everywhere. You could go to your local indie bookstore and order it, special order it. And then the audiobook is available on Audible, and I narrated it, and it's so much fun.
Yes. Yes. And don't just buy one, folks. Buy a couple. I bought extras so that I could give to some of my friends. And Hady even has some deals there where she's got like, hopefully you can see this. She's got an awesome bag. Maybe you can't see it because
the tote bag.
There's an awesome canvas bag and stickers. And this, I already put my sticker on my computer. And it's just beautiful. Like I saw it, I knew what the cover looked like, but getting it was even more beautiful to see how vibrant the colors were. So definitely buy several books and support Hady. And the audio is also really great. Like I said, I listened to it too, and it just sounded like having a friend, a sister, like just talking to me, super real, relatable. So share the message. Let's get this in the hands of others. Let's really be truly walking the walk and supporting, Latinas supporting Latinas and Latinos. And, let's get this book out there. So Hady, congratulations to you. I wish you a ton of success. Every time I talk to you, I always learn something new, and it really is a true joy. So I wish you continued success, and thank you everyone for joining in today, and we'll see you around on the LinkedIn streets.
Bye everybody. Thanks for coming.